Welcome to our latest broadcast we're doing right now with LanceWallnau. And here's a man who should need no introduction, but I want to make sure all of you know who he is. Charlie Kirk has single-handedly mobilized the next generation of conservatives and Christians in the unreachable youth and millennial bracket. And somehow, through his own catalytic style and chaotic approach, he has cobbled together some kind of an idea that captured so much imagination. Even the president himself, Donald Trump, recognized this guy is carrying the future of America for the next generation. And I want you to meet him and hear from him in person. Charlie Kirk, welcome.
Lance, thank you.
Good man. You're on fire right now because I understand that you're like 80% over the quota of where you were last year for the same event.
Well, we didn't have it last year for obvious reasons because of the lockdowns.
Right.
We wished we could have, but yeah, I mean, we're at 2,500 young conservative women here. It's pretty amazing.
Young conservative women. I'll bet you there's a lot more out there, and I'll bet you I've got a demographic with a lot of the parents probably because that's my age demo. But what are you seeing out there they're resonating with? What are they responding to in your message?
A couple different things. I mean, I talked about this a little bit this morning. I think there is a growing desire and a growing appetite for order in the midst of chaos of our entire society. I think that conservatives must be very clear about what we stand for and why we stand for it, such as things that are eternal, things that are divine, things that have proven to work. We must be rooted in empiricism and not just abstractions, so not just these kind of one-off sound bites, but instead we should really be clear about what we value, which is we want people to have meaningful relationships first with their creator, then hopefully with a significant other, come into a union where they build something that can outlive them, like a family. Right. That is how a civilization continues, and I think you see here at this Young Conservative Women's Summit here in Dallas, that is not a message you hear in secular social media culture or on college campuses. And I think that there's an incredible amount of momentum we have here, Lance. I mean, we could have had this even bigger. The largest ever young conservative female summit that we know of in history.
You know, and my daughter, of course, went to college here in a secular campus. She graduated, magna cum laude, and I asked her, I said, what was it like? She said it was a daily battle against indoctrination and a choice as to how you picked your battles if you wanted to have an existence. I mean, where is what's happening now that people out there don't understand about college campuses and education itself?
Yeah, college is tough right now just because we really don't know because they've been so locked down. And I did a campus tour this last spring, and some of the campuses didn't allow me. The fight that I'm really focused on, honestly, is this mandatory vaccination fight when it comes to colleges and how these parents are putting up with this. I don't get it. Right. I mean, for example, University of Notre Dame, they just came out, they said 93% of their student body has been vaccinated. That's a higher vaccination rate than the CDC and the NIH.
Stop it. And listen, did you see that? And nobody's carrying this soundbite. When when they were asked at the CDC what percentage of the employees working there have been vaccinated, and they looked around, they said 40, 50%. You got to figure if only half of them are actually vaccinated that they know of, what do they know? Or what are they thinking that obviously we're not getting?
That's a pretty reasonable question, and I'm not inherently anti-vaccine. I don't like being told to do something without someone explaining the reason for it. And definitely, I'm not taking this vaccine, not at all. But I know people that have, and they have some reasons that they justify themselves to take it.
Well, the younger you are, the less sense it makes, and that's the logic of it. So nobody that's ever had COVID has died of having it twice.
So the colleges are requiring this.
How can they do that? How can they make a student get vaccinated, and why are parents passive over this?
So I don't know the law around it. There's a lot of good lawsuits happening. I know that. I do know that parents, quite honestly, are okay with it, which is bizarre, and it's stunning to me. I mean, no donor should ever give money to a university or send your kid to the university for mandatory vaccinations. It's such an easy thing. So anyway, that was just, I'm not sure if you were anticipating me kind of going in that direction, but that's kind of a front and center thing right now.
But let's go to something else you're doing, because it goes down to the school board. So that it's not just the colleges, because the colleges is almost like the institutional Seven Mountain stuff. We let the ball got out of our control, but now it's trying to take territory K through 12. But you're doing something very mischievous. I hear that you are just popping up at school board meetings. This is extremely mischievous. Is this what you're doing?
Yes. It's been a lot of fun. So I popped up randomly at the Chandler Unified School District a couple nights ago, And look, I'm not a guy that complains about something I'm trying to do about it. I can't stand that. I can't stand this kind of spectator political culture that's been kind of created. Like, oh, here's everything wrong, and America's going into decline. I try to practice what we preach. Don't always do that, but I try my best. And the school board thing, I've been kind of ranting about it for the last couple months. Got married, took some time off, which I was very happy about. And I said, right when I get back, I'm going to do this thing. And so I'm going to be going to school boards all across the summer. I'm just going to be showing up, and if they have me, then great, and if they have some problem with it, then they're going to have to explain to me why.
But it's a random showing, so they never know.
They never know. So any school board at any time, I hope you guys are listening, you might have me testify there.
But the parents need to get involved, is the point. And in South Lake here, we've seen something historic happen where they were mobilized. Parents that got informed showed up, and suddenly you're seeing school boards getting flipped over. You're seeing county commission offices being changed, mayors being changed. I think a grassroots mobilization is coming out of the frustration with the election experience November 3rd. There's a grassroots pushback. Is that what you're seeing here? I'm seeing it all over my audience.
Yeah, totally. I think the school boards have now become the place where all this kind of pent-up frustration kind of is now has a platform. It now has an area where this is, and people are kind of all angry about their own thing, and it's kind of fun. It's magical. It's like, okay, this is where we're going to air this all. And by the way, that's the best place. It's kind of this kind of like sandbox for the airing of grievances of everything that's been happening wrong. Right. Where some people are like, you know what? They have the vaccines, and some people are like, I don't like the masks. Some people are critical race theory. Some people to this transgender thing. I'm like, keep coming. This is the place to do it. And actually, it's actually a place where you can make a meaningful difference. I'm like, I'm going to go write a letter to my congressman. Like, yeah, that's fine. Terrific.
Yeah. And your Facebook protest doesn't work unless you're in their district anyway. So they really don't care what your opinion is.
The school boards are the perfect place for this.
And you know what? I have a theory on this. I have a theory that Americans, for the most part, they tend to be, 70% of American, the conservative, leaning conservative element, they're not by nature protesters. They're not by nature going to break windows and yell and scream. So it takes a lot to get them to be activists. But if you touch their children, you touch little Tommy or Susie, and they're suddenly realizing, Mama is realizing you're threatening my children.
That's right.
The more that we carry the argument to the mothers that they're propagandizing your son and your daughter, they're messing with your baby, that's where you're going to see this the soccer moms become like commandos at Normandy. They're suddenly showing up with...
Well, no, that's the maternal instinct that needs to kick in. And, I mean, we need mothers to now defend their nation and defend the values they care about like they would their own home and their child, because their child is being propagandized. And if you're a mother out there and your kid is being taught that there's something wrong with their existence because of the melanin content in their skin, here's a general rule of thumb. It is evil to judge people based on something they can't control.
Right.
For example, if there was someone that was handicapped here, we're like, oh, they can't control that. So that's a general moral principle that built the West.
It's crazy. You imagine shaming a child, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, because they have blue eyes or brown eyes or blonde hair.
Well, that's what's happening.
Well, that's exactly. And we just haven't figured out how to frame the outrage of the week so that it's like, are you aware of this? Because I still think there's a certain amount of America that's going, what are they doing? It's like,
well, no, it's almost so evil and insidious.
Yeah,
people dismiss it at face value. Like, oh, no, it can't be that bad. This has got to be some SNL prank. No, it actually is that bad.
No, it's that bad.
This is Nathan Bedford Forrest, John C. Calhoun, Nicole Hannah-Jones. All three of them have 3 names. And they're all they all taught the same thing. John C. Calhoun repopularized slavery in the 1820s. Nathan Bedford Forrest started the KKK. Nicole Hannah-Jones runs the 1619 Project. All of them think skin color matters. If you think skin color matters, you're a racist.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something right now. Those of you that are watching this, I want to make sure that you're able to keep track with Charlie because you can hear these wild ideas every day. Tell us about your podcast and your radio. How do they keep in touch with you?
They are wild and they're fun, entertaining, and true. They can check out the Charlie Kirk Show podcast. Every phone out there has a podcast app, so if they take it out, type in Charlie Kirk Show, hit subscribe. You've been a guest on our podcast, Lance.
Indeed, I have.
And you will be again. We might re-air this on our podcast for all we know.
I think so.
If you'll allow us to.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Well, there we go.
Since I started hanging out with you, my reputation went down the toilet. I want you to know.
There you go. Well,
and that's setting us up for the next conversation I want to have, which is how we can expand the number of people that are scandalized by association with you. Because I'm frustrated with the response of the church in general.
Oh,
this
that's
is my
always
pet
fun.
peeve. And a lot of it is like people of faith, you would think that they would identify with these issues. But for the most part, there's like a massive disconnect, and I don't know how to describe
I have
it.
to say this. I know we're up against a hard break.
I know.
I got this text message. You're like, Charlie, you're trending on Twitter. I said, you know what? It feels the same as when I didn't know I was trending on Twitter. I deleted Twitter from my phone. People say, oh, yeah, these pastors are coming after you. I said, really? They've never called me. And meaning I don't really care what people say about me or what they do. I care about people I care about say about me, like my wife or my close friends or my coworkers.
Yeah.
And so this idea of like, oh, you're going to have such reputational damage. I'm like, really? You could live a free life and a full life if you just tell the truth.
Absolutely. Besides, I'm telling you, I'm going to predict something, that the pastors that are trying to defend the transgender agenda, the racial stigmatizing and division of society, the open borders that are producing a landmass invasion of the country, pastors are going to find themselves getting a pushback from their own people.
I hope so.
I believe it. I believe there's like pastor disaster out there is setting himself up for a problem. But we're going to be coming back in a moment with more with Charlie Kirk because we're just scratching the surface on these subjects right now.